You talk about like becoming high value, pushing through the last set in a leg workout.
That'll get you going.
It's some other shit. That's like, because you're in that mental framework where you're just like, I'd rather do anything else. Like it hurts, and when I squat down here, it's gonna take everything I got, and I ain't got nothing left.
I know.
So.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 podcast in the world where we give you an authentic look into the world's healthiest, wealthiest, and most inspirational minds. We talk about trending topics, bold ideas, and give you real-world examples that will inspire you to take action and become the #1 version of yourself. On today's episode of the #1 podcast in the world, what are we talking today about, Forrest?
Something very timely. So in our last episode, we actually talked about goal setting. How to set some goals. It was a week challenge. It's been a few weeks since then. We've just been busy. Life has been crazy. But we're also going to talk about after that how to become a high value man and or we'll say woman. Obviously we have direct experience being men, so it'll be more directed at that, but definitely applies to everyone. And another way of saying high value, that's obviously the term that people want to use today, but that's just becoming the #1 version of yourself, right? If you talk about being high value, that's really what it is. So let's dig into this goal stuff. How did we do? Terribly.
Man, it was bad.
It was
really bad.
It was not good.
It was not.
It was.
Look, the first day, it went off without a hitch. I was on it.
Yeah.
The second day, I did pretty good.
Yeah. Wait, turn your mic a little bit.
The second day, the first and second day were all right.
Okay.
Yeah, I basically completely plundered it after that.
Same. I think I got like, maybe 2 days in. The biggest change though, at least for me is, so I have a personal trainer now. I do that 3 days a week, wake up at like 5:30 a.m., 5 a.m., go and do that. So I did make a major change in kind of like my routine and what I'm doing every day, which is nice. And really that goal, the goal there is just being in the best shape of my life. I had 2 surgeries last year, one on my left ankle, one on my right ankle, tore my peroneal tendon, tore my left Achilles, dancing. So being 30, it's like, I just got to get it together, got to stay in shape. And that's really important. I mean, if you're someone who's getting older, I don't know what the age range is going to be for our viewers here, but probably around our age, younger, maybe some older. You got to take care of your body, y'all. You only got one.
Absolutely.
And we all feel maybe a little bit different. Maybe you haven't had a major injury, but I can tell you that, you're not going to bounce back as fast the older that you get. So take care of it. You've only got one. And, you look better, feel better, all that jazz too.
True.
So.
Well, I had an interesting experience because I started actually implementing this, and then it was leading up to my birthday.
Yeah.
And so my girlfriend actually flew in my parents. She invited my parents to come stay with us. First of all, I've been trying to get them here for years, literally years, and they won't come to Miami. They just had no interest or desire in coming to Miami. And so I'm like, when are you coming? When are you coming? And I've been beating them up about it for the past year. And so she made it happen. She coordinated them coming, and my sister and you were there at my birthday party.
Yep.
So
it was great, by the way.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So obviously with them there, my routine got thrown a little off. On top of that, in the implementation of some of my goals, I actually kind of re-injured myself. Because I have, you remember back from St. Louis, I was like competing in CrossFit.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting a horrifying back injury. I got 5 herniated discs in my back. And so I could barely move for like 2 years. And I was doing yoga and physical therapy, getting cortisone injections, and just shy of getting a surgery, I started picking up yoga classes, and that's kind of got me to the next level. So the cool part about the injury, obviously it wasn't fun, kind of having a flare up again. And there was one point where like it was hard to even get my pants on. Like I was in so much pain.
Yeah.
I got back into this rhythm of doing yoga, and I got back into this rhythm of working out with a trainer like you are, you know? So now I'm doing legs with a trainer twice a week. I'm doing yoga 3 times a week. And I'm also like doing a massage once a week. So as a result of having this injury that was obviously not ideal and very painful, I ended up, stepping into a new season of self-care and self-development. Which has been really transformative. It's been amazing to I never take care of myself. I take care of others. And I think that'll tie into some of, our discussion later about really being high value.
Definitely. I did want to kind of like just ask, I'm curious, why have a personal trainer? I think we've both worked out for a long time. You're doing CrossFit, so
Yeah.
why do you think a personal trainer is useful for the people who are considering getting one?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, if you haven't been to the gym in a while, or even if you have, I think what oftentimes happens is, at least for me, if I've been out of the game for a minute and I took a couple weeks off, or my girl and I practiced Ramadan with her, and so I didn't work out for a whole month, right?
Yeah.
So when I came off of that month, took a lot for me to get back in. I was so unmotivated, and so what I ended up doing is getting this trainer, and being with the trainer just kind of got me back in the rhythm. So it was more so just kind of getting back in the mode and getting back in the mindset. Because, after you work with a trainer for a month or so, you don't really need them anymore. You're like on that mission, Another useful place is if you feel like you've been doing it for a while and you've hit a plateau and you can't, sometimes you really need that extra little nudge, or that someone who's going to help you, with a spot and give you a little bit more of a push in order to get you to the next level and help you become better. So I think those are two really valuable ways, in which you should seek out a trainer. But the third one that for me was because of my back, I hate legs. I never do legs on my own. I literally won't do them.
Yeah.
I'll do everything, chest, tries, bi.
So
traps,
you need it.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have this mental blockage almost where I'm like, I don't want to do legs because every time I do legs, I feel like I'm going to hurt my back. So that's a mental blockage that I feel like a trainer helps me get through, and it has. So I'm doing weight now that I wasn't able to do, a year ago, and it's only been a month with a trainer.
Definitely. And for me, it's about accountability. I'm very busy, right? So, as a reminder, if you're new here, my day job is in corporate sales, selling software, basically SaaS, which is just stands for software as a service to enterprises. It's a very, I guess, taxing job, and like it's busy. I work at a startup, right? So there's that. There's the side ventures. There's dancing, trying to maintain friendships, relationships. There's all this stuff. And so having a trainer for me has made it really easy to just actually get the workout done.
Yeah,
and push myself. I'd say do quality workouts too,
Also, if you're paying for it, you got skin in the game.
That too. I mean, it's at a price where like, I wouldn't be hurting, but honestly, just like, trainer's cool. It's nice to just have that person who's like, yo, not only are you going to work out, but we're going to like hit these goals, week over week, or like grind, or like when I'm there, working out in the morning, 6 a.m., it's like I'm dying. And he's like, yo, we got one more circuit. And I'm like, okay. Versus if I was working out by myself, I'm not doing that last circuit.
Like,
I can tell you right now, I'm not doing it. And I've been working out for a long time, y'all. I ran in college. Did martial arts as a kid, calisthenics. I've done all this stuff. I've done everything. And I think eventually, you get burnout, and injuries and things like that. And the accountability is definitely worth it. So if you're somebody you need that extra push, the accountability, in my opinion, you'll definitely see the results from a good trainer.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend it. And I think that's a great way to kind of level up your life, make time. You're literally making time and investing in yourself ultimately, which is another way to think about it. If you look at some of the things that people are spending money on, or if you're worried about the cost, it's like you're spending money on your body ultimately. You're paying the trainer, but the trainer is putting that energy into you.
That's true.
So you're investing in your own health. And you have to ask yourself, like, how valuable is your health? How valuable is your fitness?
Yeah. Well, I had to remind myself of that too, because I just recently started seeing a doctor after getting some blood work done. Yeah. And they were like, your testosterone is like down in the dumps. And, my estrogen was out of whack. And obviously I was dealing with a lot of stress because of work, because the market, and a reminder, so I do mortgages in Miami, and the market is insane right now. Everybody's moving here. Everybody's buying. And so we've been very stressed. And so seeing this doctor, they were like, not only are these things out of whack, but, you're lacking in these vitamins and these certain things. And when they sent me the bill for all this stuff, because they wanted to put me on TRT and put me on vitamin B12 shots and do all these injections and things. And I'm like, the bill's like $6,000. And I'm like, do I really want to spend $6,000? Is it really worth it? Or should I put that towards something else? And I toyed back and forth with it. And then I ultimately just made the decision to do it, and I paid for it. And honestly, like, I feel so good.
Yeah.
I feel so good that I probably doubled my income this month because I felt better.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that investment in myself, that investment in my physical well-being ended up translating into a double in my, income, which was fantastic. And I don't think, I attribute it to that. I don't know if it was directly correlated, but when you feel good, you do good,
It probably is a little bit. I mean, I feel like a lot of things in life are that way. Like you look at, should I get a mentor? Should I pay for a mentor? Right.
Yeah.
Should I wake up in the morning like some of our goals were, like what are these little things? What is the direct result of that? And you'll hear most people say like, hey, like there's not going to be like you do a miracle morning routine and then suddenly you make $1 million, but you're going to feel better. And, you do more when you feel better. Work is easier, work for longer, whatever it is. Everything is better when you feel better. So
yeah, that's true.
Obviously a good investment. Did I talk about my goals or what I failed on?
No.
Really it was. I think my goals were waking up early. And this is how bad it is. I don't remember what they were, right? But I know one of them was definitely waking up early every day. I only had like 3. Stretching and working out, like at least 15 minutes per day, which I've actually been doing. So I have been stretching every day. I did stretch today. And part of that is my fitness routine. So, I'm waking up not early, super early every day, but the days that I'm working out, I'm definitely waking up much earlier in general. Going to sleep, I'm getting way much more sleep now. I'm tired. I'm like physically. I did leg day yesterday, man. I have not done deadlifts and like squats and all this stuff in so long, like heavy.
I'm not even graduated to that
because I got someone spotting me too, and so now it's just like at that limit where it's like I'm tired.
I bet.
And they're like, yo, you got another set, and I'm just like, and adding 20 more pounds, and you're
that's
like,
what happened today. I did
dying,
legs today
bro.
with my trainer. I did legs today, and he's like, we were doing a drop set at the end, and I was like, there's no way I'm finishing this. And he's like, you got this, come on. And, he helps with the weight. And I was like, bro, I'm beat. I cannot do this. And then, I mustered it up and I made it happen, but it's also 6:00 in the morning. And I'm like, I slept 2 hours last night. I'm beat, but hey, we made it happen.
You talk about like becoming high value, pushing through the last set in the leg workout.
That'll get you going.
It's some other shit. That's like, cause you're in that mental framework where you're just like, I'd rather do anything else. Like it hurts. And when I squat down here, it's going to take everything I got, and I ain't got nothing left.
I know.
So, stupid example, but, it does kind of feed into what we're talking about, which is, what is this? Focusing on yourself to become a high value man. I actually want to talk about this because there are tons of channels, Fresh and Fit, Kevin Samuels, 2 really big names in the space, the Roommates podcast. I'll talk about high value men, making 6 figures, focusing on yourself, yada, yada. A lot of it is in the context of relationships too, and they're taking a lot of hot takes recently. So I kind of want to talk about that. Andrew hasn't seen all of those, but he does understand definitely the concept of high value man. He hasn't been watching all these dramatic channels like I have recently.
No, I haven't.
But they are mad entertaining. Respect to those people, by the way. Check them out. Not trying to throw hate or anything like that. But I just want to kind of give our take on it. Yeah. Why is it, we'll just start with the high level and, whatever comes into mind, but why do you think it's important to focus on yourself, in general, when it comes to high value, and like, maybe what can that mean, positive, negative for any relationship?
Sure. So, what I've found personally is, I've been in relationships where I feel like I spent the whole relationship working on, like, so focused on the other person that I neglected myself. And, I think that also stems, if you do that, by the way, it typically stems from something from your childhood or something that, you wanted to be like that people pleaser. Maybe, I don't know, and this is just speculation, but, from some of my research and self-development, I found that, maybe it was from when you were a child, you wanted to feel loved or something. And, so you ended up understanding that if you did certain things, you would feel reciprocation in a certain way. So a lot of people, they tend to be like people pleasing. And this was something I worked on for a long time to get through. And so I used to be so consumed with serving and being of service and like, catering to that other person that I often neglected myself. just to find out that they weren't even attracted to that anyways, because it's not attractive when when someone's always on you. You know what I mean? And so I think that there's something to be said about really focusing on yourself and becoming your number one version, because if you're always so obsessed with someone else and you're always giving and you're always, not saying that giving is bad, giving is fantastic, right? Giving has its place in everything. But when you're so focused on someone else, it's almost a turnoff, right? Because they tend to often lose respect for you.
They can, yeah. And like, it becomes almost like suffocating, right? And
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
something we've all done, like if you're really, especially when you're younger, right? You're infatuated with somebody and you're like, man, I would do anything for them. And so you literally start to, but you can suffocate that person. And we've all probably also experienced the same thing. Like I know I've experienced where it's just like, yo, like, I don't need anything right now. Like, I'm just trying to chill. Like, let me be me, like, let me chill. Like, I'm good.
That's true.
And so you definitely need to, and I think there's a lot of reasons for this. I definitely think like most things come back to something in your childhood. So I definitely agree with that. Like our childhoods,
or insecurities of some kind.
Yeah. Something like that. So it's really important, I think, to one, recognize, what are the things that are at your core, like why are you the way that you are? Accept them, but also accept that you might have to work on that. I think one of the toxic things in our culture today is this idea that like everybody is okay that the way that they are, and people shouldn't judge each other. And I firmly believe like you're gonna get judged, and a lot of judgment is valid. I judge people. People judge me, and people should judge me, but based off the way that I act, how I treat them, because they're trying to determine what type of relationship they want to have with me. How am I going to treat them, right? So they're going to judge you. They're going to judge me. My job as a person who's being judged is to filter the criticism, right? So it's like, do I respect this person? Are they someone that I want to emulate? And then any of their criticism through that filter, right? So it's not like I have to listen to what everybody says, but people are going to judge each other. That's just like facts. Like it'd be weird if the first day we met, you were like cursing out some old lady, and I was just like, hey, you know what? That's just Andrew, and she started crying. That'd be weird, that's, people don't think of that as judgment. That's what it is. It's just
that's true.
And it's not always good. So,
yeah, that's true. I think there's also something to be said for just taking the time to really be present and like think about what you need today and judge yourself more so than anything.
Yeah.
Because while it's, other people's, constructive criticism is one thing, you constructively criticizing someone else, that has value in itself as well if you have that type of relationship with someone. But if you sit down and you really take the time to judge yourself and say, man, I'm fucking up here, or wow, I'm doing really well here, or this is something that I need to work on, or the wise seek the counsel of others, right? You never go to war unless you seek the counsel of your advisors. Every good, king, every good soldier, seeks the counsel of his advisors before he takes on the enemy. Well, your enemy might be yourself. It may be shortfalls that you have within, and you may need to seek the outside counsel of others in order to gain that perspective. Because what do they say? The picture frame can't, or what is it? The picture frame can't see the picture. He can't see himself. You need someone outside in order to see the picture. So if you have someone on the outside looking at you and giving you constructive criticism, like accept that and then judge yourself and say, look, I do need to grow in this specific area. And if you're in a relationship and you're so focused on that other person, how the hell are you going to grow? How the hell are you going to become that better version? If someone gives you constructive criticism, whether it be your partner or someone else, if you're so focused on that other person, you can't take the time that you need to be present, be by yourself, be solo, and say, this is what I need. This is what I need to become better. This is what I need to grow. This is what I need to step into my purpose and take the next level,
Yeah. And I love that, because there's two things there, right? So there's the person who's so focused on the other person. If you're so focused on the other person and judging that person and, trying to change them, it's like, that's just energy you're not putting into yourself, right? You're detracting from your own progress, and everybody's on their own journey, right? You can lead a horse to water, whatever analogy or metaphor you want to say, but, you're losing that part. And then for the other person too, like if I'm someone who, there's someone who's always, criticizing, or if I'm the person who's doing the criticizing, right? If you're always focused on that person, that person then is, or actually what I mean to say is, if you're someone who's always not focused on yourself, and kind of like you were saying earlier, like I'm always just focused on this other person, maybe in like, not in the judgmental way, but like just giving constantly, like I'm going to do whatever they want me to do. That person then, if they're focused on themselves, feels like, yo, like you're actually kind of avoiding, your own life, right? Like you're focused on everything but yourself. So it goes both ways, basically, where there's no downside to focusing on yourself, basically. Like you should always look internal. That's going to help you build that filter. Like when you know what you're about, then you can actually apply that filter to criticism. But if you don't know what you're about, then everything that everybody says is going to seem heavy. It's like, man, I just met this guy. This guy's successful. I should listen to what he says. It's like, well, are they successful in the way that you care about?
Yeah, well, you'll start to beat yourself up too.
Yeah.
And that's even worse, because then instead of building yourself up, you're breaking yourself down based on other people's opinion. And the biggest thing that is going to be a hurdle to people that are not focused on themselves is comparison. Mm-hmm. Because if you're comparing yourself constantly to other people, you will always feel short. You will always feel empty, and you will always feel less than. But if you're comparing yourself to your past version, you're comparing yourself to who you were yesterday or who you were in that past relationship and where you are now, you're always going to feel better. You might not even be in the best position. You may have been in a better position in the past than you are right now. However, you are a better person when you are focused on yourself, because you learned from that experience, and you can take where you are right now and you can take that, use the past as fuel to launch your present into the future destiny. But you do need to know what you're about. You do need to know what you want, and you got to be able to focus on yourself and say, this is who I am, but this is where I want to be. And these are the steps that I need to take to implement in order to get there.
Yeah, man. And, ultimately you have to enjoy the journey. Because like you said, like comparison it'll crush you. I can tell you guys, this is something that I struggle with, and that everybody who I think has experienced some level of success has struggled with, right? So, recently this quarter, I can tell you my commissions, and I know you've had some good commissions too, my commission check for one quarter is more than the salary that I was making at my first job in the year, right? So now I'm at some level of success where it's like, what am I working for? And luckily I'm at a point in like personal development where it's like, I kind of know what my why is. I know what I want in life. I know the things that are making me happy. But it's not infinite money. I could tell you today now, like I'm on a trajectory where it's like, if I made 5 times as much money tomorrow, like my life wouldn't look exceptionally different. It's like, what would I actually do? Not too much else. The things that I'm really focused on growing in are building more relationships. It's like growing my network, not necessarily make more money now. The money will come, but it's like, who do I want to surround myself with so that in 10 years when I'm 40 and I wake up, it's like, who is in my life? Who's calling me? Who's calling me on my birthday? Who's calling me when I'm down? Who's meeting me, out at the weekend? Who am I getting brunch with? Like, these are the things that I'm trying to build now, and making sure that those people have the same mindset. They're not just people that are fun with, because like I've had many fun brunches and stuff like that, but it's like, are these people who are similar mindset, beliefs?
That's awesome.
Positive energy, right? So definitely don't let comparison. I can tell you, live in a city like Miami, like there's infinite money. Infinite money.
Someone's always got more than you.
I'm not someone to, take an L. It's not an L, but it's just like, I'm just not going to have the most money here. I just won't. I could win the lottery. I could win like the Mega Millions, $50 million lottery, and I'm going to bump into somebody who has way more money than me, So it's like that out here, y'all.
Miami is like that.
But the benefit of it being like that out here is that you can make a lot of money. Like I can make a lot of money relative to where I was yesterday.
Well, we live in a comparison culture.
We do too.
That's huge. That's and hard. It's a lot easier to tell somebody don't compare yourself to others than to oftentimes like implement it yourself, especially with Instagram. Oh my God, Instagram. Like, I'm luckily in a place now where like I don't go on Instagram to look at people's stuff. Like I'm a producer, not a consumer. Yeah. So I post things, I post stories. I don't really post posts too often, but I post stories, and like I'm not out here watching everybody's stuff. I don't have time. I'm just too busy. The purpose of my Instagram used to be like, look, when I was younger and it was all about comparison, when I first moved to Miami and I just wanted to be seen and I was a little insecure, the gram was like honestly about flexing.
Yeah.
It was really just about flexing. And it went from flexing to being more transparent, and then to just posting about life and like trying to meet people. And then it went to networking. And now my Instagram is just about my business. You know, like I do post certain things, but that's because I'm a human. Like I want to not just look like a robot, because if I post mortgage stuff all day, people are not going to watch what I do, you know. But now, instead of using Instagram as a tool of comparison where you go on it and you feel like shit after, you know, use it as a tool to launch your business into the next level. Use it as a tool to like build yourself up, you know. Or if you have to unfollow certain people because when you look at their stuff you feel like shit, like really like think, like I did that. I went through my feed, or I went through all my followers, and I did kind of like a purge of everybody that I followed about a month and a half ago, because I was like, there's certain people that like when I watch their stuff, or if I go look at their page or something pops up, like I don't feel good, you know, like something just feels off.
Yeah.
And so I unfollowed them. And it wasn't because I was jealous. It wasn't because of something. It was just because like that, I don't share the same frequency anymore, because our frequency is always changing. We're always growing. You know, what the people that I was attracted to 2 years ago, or even a year, even a month ago, like I'm not attracted to those same people now.
That's true, man. We grow, we develop, and it doesn't have to be like a whole negative thing. There's a fine line, because you're going to find people that motivate you, and that's fine. But don't lose yourself in chasing what they have, right? You want to try and emulate people based off of who they are, because there are a ton of people that have cars that I want, right? That won't like me, I won't like them.
Yeah,
right.
True.
So you got to find people who if you vibe with who they are, and try and follow that path, because there are a million ways to make $1 million. If money is the goal, I can tell you all that right now, and money is the goal for a lot of people, and that's fair. I mean, money is one of the goals for me, right? I'm working sales. I wouldn't work as hard as I do. I know you want to do what you do if money wasn't part of the story there, right? Because we like stuff. Cool. You know, he's got a fresh fit on. I live in this building. Money's obviously part of the mission. What we're saying though is that that's infinite, y'all. Like if you only chase money, it's infinite. If you compare yourself, especially if you're just trying to be high value, if you're comparing yourself to other people in a negative light, or not using a filter, if anybody who walks by that has, let's just say, money, if you are switching targets to anybody who just has money and comparing yourself to them, you're going to be lost forever. You're going to be spinning in circles. And I see this a lot actually on the internet right now. Like there's so many people trying to hustle in everything, right? There's all these different hustles, and I get it, right? I've done a lot of stuff too, but you got to pick like your few things and stick to them over
the one thing, right?
Yeah, the one thing. Check out the book. Have your one thing. Do that, you know, and really what the one thing comes down to is, you know, what is the one thing that you can do that by doing it will make everything else easier or unnecessary. That was my biggest takeaway from that book. And for me right now, knowing that I want to own real estate later, I'm very focused, heads down on my job, a lot of opportunity there. Yeah, so it's just like make money, put it in real estate.
Pick your vehicle, you know?
Yeah.
Because everybody has this, we have all got, well, not everybody, but most of us, we have this similar destination. You know, you and I could have the same destination in mind, and, you know, you might be driving a Ferrari and I'm in a Honda Civic, right?
Right.
And we're both going to get there. One of them's going to get there fast as hell. And if I compare myself to you, I'm going to be pissed. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if I'm in my Honda Civic and I'm scooting and I just focus on putting gas, changing the oil, putting new brakes, new tires, and just focusing on my car and just getting there, right? The best way I know how, I'm going to run into people along the way that not only are going to help me on my journey, but, you know, I'm going to find satisfaction and fulfillment in that journey. Because if we both get to the end and you got there fast and I got there down the road, but I came with a whole crew of people with me, like who's going to be more fulfilled? You know what I mean? At the end of the day. And I think that just goes into another topic, which is even more beneficial and also right in line with focusing on yourself and becoming your best version, which is to find your tribe.
Yep.
You know, this is huge because my girlfriend actually opened my eyes to this, because I used to hang out with like all the wrong people. I hung out with people that I thought looked good on the gram, or like they showed themselves a certain way, and there was really no substance. There was no tangibility. There was no like love there, you know?
Yeah.
And for my birthday party, which you saw like at the end, it was so incredible because my girlfriend basically like she said yes or no to who could come to my birthday.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and I had a whole list of people. All my
Very selective.
I had a lot
Yeah.
of people. I had like 50. If it was up to me, I'd have 50, 60, 70 people. Like I would have had a lot of people there. And number one, they wouldn't all fit on the apartment. But number two, she was like, is that your friend or your business partner? And I was like, well, I guess it's a business. I guess they're a business, partner. And she's like, okay, is this your real friend or your acquaintance? And I was like, well, no, that's my friend. And she's like, when did you hang out with them? And I was like, well, we had coffee. And she's like, what did you talk about? And I'm like, I guess we talked about business. And she's like, they're not your friend. And I'm like, and she was like really narrowing things down. And then she was like, I think obviously at the time I was like, well, that's kind of bullshit because that's my friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was a little hot at the time, but when we had the little we had this like little thing at the end where everybody went around and they like said things that they were grateful for. And they really like were just so nice about.
Yeah, it was genuine.
It was genuine. But basically, long story short, my videographer and photographer Gary was there, and he played this little game where we were all sitting around the cake, and he was like, everybody just tell Andrew and Safia one thing that you love about them, one thing that you genuinely feel. And people went around this room and they had really heartfelt responses. Like you said something great, everybody said something great.
I forgot what I said, to be honest, but it was honest. It was honest, which is why. And if I did it again, I'm sure I'd say the same thing. So
it was cool because like being around people that were genuinely like just themselves and could see you in a different light than maybe some random person off the street that you think your friend is. Like that's just so valuable. And I felt so elevated from that I just like had an incredible rest of my week. And just having my parents there, like, I think it's so important to surround yourself with people that genuinely love you because we're constantly surrounding ourselves with people that either they want something that we have, they like us because it's something that we can do for them, or there's just like some fakeness, especially here in Miami. But when you surround yourself with people that genuinely care about you, they don't want anything from you. They just want to be around you and be in your company. That's huge. Yeah. That's huge because we don't see that too often. And it ends up translating into us loving ourselves more. And when you love yourself and you care about yourself, you will focus on yourself. You won't focus so much on the other person because you care about yourself enough where you're like, you know what? I care about my happiness. And if this person doesn't make me happy, I'm not going to change them. I got to focus on myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You won't change them. And I love that, man. I think that's a great, like, I don't know, just soundbite, whatever you want to say, idea, way to think. Having a tribe is so important. And that's the hard part, y'all. I mean, it's really, really hard too. I think I want to hit on that. Like finding your tribe is really, really tough. It's not easy. Yeah. And I can't remember what I saw. I saw something. It was I want to give credit to where it's due. So I'll look it up and maybe put it down in the description of this. But this guy was basically saying, if you want to be great at something or have the best version of something, you have to accept the opposite of that, right? So if you want to, have a great family, you have to accept having no family, until you find the right people to start a family with, right? If you want to have a lot of money, you have to accept being broke so that you can do the things that are required to make a lot of money. Because I can tell you right now, entrepreneurs, there's some crazy statistic like 9 out of 10 or 90% of like, multimillionaires were like bankrupt at one point, right? And there's a reason for that, and the reason is that those people take risk. If you don't take risk, if you go down the normal path, you'll make $50,000, $60,000 a year, straight up. Yeah, for real. And for a lot of people have trouble with that. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to lose all my money. And it's like, well, if you're not willing to lose it all, you're not going to gain it all.
Bro, I've lost everything 3-4 times.
I've been straight broke, bro, like paycheck to paycheck because I put all my heart, soul into things that failed. And that's how you get really good at stuff too. But
we have a whole episode on that.
Yeah, we do. And it's just important because finding your tribe is going to keep you motivated. It's hard. But really the point of that there is that, you got to be willing to have no tribe. Sometimes you're going to be going solo until you find that tribe. Otherwise, like you said, you'll spend a lot of time. I've done the same thing too, rolling around with people who are fun. They'll meet up with you for happy hour. They'll meet up with you to go get super hammered, right?
But there's no benefit to your existence.
Yeah, they're not getting you from A to B. They're there. And there's an argument for there's a time and place for that. Like I had a lot of fun. You had fun, but eventually.
But I don't even talk to those people anymore.
yeah, they're not going to be there for you, for anything, unless you want to get hammered again or destroy your body, destroy your mind. Like that's the only time they're going to show up. But if you say, yo, I want to solve some hard problem, or I want to build a business, or I want to help people, they're not going to be there.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
I love that, man. Finding your tribe is super critical. So,
and I think that's important because, so I've been down here in Miami for, I don't know, 6 years now.
Yeah.
And, I have gone home a handful of times, maybe, and so being down here and not like, I always, for some reason, for a while, and this is why I kept trying to get my parents on here, I felt like this emptiness, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, why do I feel like this? I've got a beautiful girlfriend. Like I feel all these emotions and everything, but I don't know, something just felt like empty, for a while. And I didn't know what it was, and I didn't understand it until my parents came down here. And when they came down here, and I just felt I felt like this rejuvenation of just like unconditional love. Because like I mentioned, when you're with a tribe that doesn't want something from you, they just want to be with you, like that's unconditional. Yeah. You know what I mean? Conditional is when someone's like, I'm going to hang out with him because he's got 100,000 followers and he makes 6 figures a year. And I think I could get something. Oh, he's got a nice car. That's conditional. Yeah. But when you're like, you know what? My dude's broke as fuck and he's got a bicycle, but he's cool. Like, tell him to come over. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he rides a bicycle to work. Like, you know what I mean? That's unconditional. Like, you just like the dude or the girl, And so I feel like there's nobody, and I can't speak for everybody's like upbringing, but I grew up in a family that was filled with love. So for me, when I was separated from it for so long, like I just felt that distance. And I think that's what the emptiness was. So I would say like it's so vital to make it a point to go back home, mend the relationships that you have with your family, mend the relationships with people that like really you want to build a relationship with, and then find that tribe. Like find that tribe and build deep bonds. If you're someone who goes to church, go to church, find that tribe there. If you're someone who's into like you with dancing, I'm sure you have a whole tribe of dancers. Yep. You know what I'm saying? If you're someone who's like finds people who like shit that you like. Yep. If you're an artist, go find some people to draw some shit with. Yeah. If you're into guns, we've gone to the gun range. You know what I mean?
A few times, yeah.
If you are into whatever the hell you're into, paddle boarding, you like skiing, you like shit like that, literally find somebody that likes that stuff and build a bond around it. But not only that, you are also, and everybody talks about this, you're a culmination of what your top 5 closest friends. Right. You know what I mean? So if you're hanging around with a bunch of idiots, you're going to be an idiot. Yeah. If you're hanging around with people that are successful, you're going to become successful because they motivate you, they push you. My girlfriend is so successful and she does so well in everything that she does. And like, I feel like shit sometimes around her because I'm like, I'm not pushing hard enough. I'm not doing enough. But I've been in relationships in the past where they just wanted to sit at home and watch Netflix all day. And I thought that was okay. So I started doing that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so my girl, we don't watch stuff like sometimes to get our head out of work, but it pushes me to go harder.
Yeah, that's super important. I mean, surrounding yourself, especially we'll probably do we could do a whole episode on this on like, romantic relationships and what that has to deal with. But yeah, I mean, you're kidding yourself if you think that, whoever you're romantically with won't rub off on you in one way or the other. And it's either going to be positive or negative. Or both. Yeah, or both, So you got to be, with somebody who, you vibe with in all types of ways. And yeah, like you said, I mean, this is my message to young men out there, right? And young women too, young people. I've experienced being a young man and kind of the pressures of being a man in society. You want to do well, you want to support your family and all that. One, definitely reach out to your family, like Andrew said. As you get older, you definitely will start to feel this. I was solo dolo for a long time, man. Like I was very like, yo, I love my family, but we all kind of do our own thing. But as I'm getting older, I felt what you felt, where it's just like, man, like I've met so many people, I've done so much stuff, but it's like, who actually, loves me unconditionally, right? And it's, family members, and you might have varying levels of relationships with those family, but, they love you and you love them. So that's super important. And then those people that you did really vibe with in your life, you got to reach out to them and maintain those relationships because, it's that is what's important. When I think about being 90 years old, and who's going to be around, that's really that's my motivation for most things. When it comes to being a high value man, a high value person, it's when I'm at the door and I'm about to check out, what are people going to think of me? What am I leaving behind? Who's going to be there for me? Who's going to actually be there because they invited themselves and not because someone sent out an invitation and said, yo, Forrest passed away, you should slide through. And I've been at a few funerals where, it was acquaintance and I slid through. And that's fine. It's good to support people, but I've also been to a few where it's just like, yo, I got to be there, and it's not about necessarily number. It's definitely about quality over quantity. But, having a high quantity of qualitative, deep, high quality relationships, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Is very fulfilling, for sure. It's going to help you stay on track. It'll certainly make it easier to become and to stay high value. And that's really the whole purpose of this podcast. I think. I don't know if you have something else. Otherwise, we can wrap up on that. I'll give you the last thoughts. Actually,
I think that was a perfect way to wrap things up, and not just like finding people that you can vibe with, people that are gonna love you, but people that you can confide in. Because especially as entrepreneurs, so often we have so much going on and we don't know who to talk to. A lot of entrepreneurs, they end up
we got to
going
do a whole
to
episode on that,
or they end up going to like psychiatrists, or I know entrepreneurs that call psychics. You know what I mean? Just because they need someone to speak to. So I think if you have that tribe of people that love you, like you can talk to them about crazy stuff that you're going through. As an entrepreneur, like if you're so focused on your business, but then you have relational problems, you tend to focus more into your business to like avoid the relational problems, and then those never get fixed. They end up getting worse. You know, or if you got a problem in your business, maybe you'll make up for it with your relationship, and like vice versa. So there's not always things that you can talk to people about. Like, I've had relationships in the past where I couldn't talk to my girl about my job. I couldn't talk to her about stuff because she didn't know what the fuck's going on. She didn't understand it. And like I'm in a great position now where I can have those conversations, but I've been in the past where like I couldn't. So, and there's still certain things that I can't talk to, my girl about, or my parent, like. You gotta know who you can talk to things about. And that's why I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, like the wise seek the counsel of advisors.
Definitely.
Because they
don't
advisors, not just one.
Not people in general, advisors.
Yeah. So find someone that you respect. Find someone that's been where you are, where you want to be. Like I seek the consult of people who are top in the mortgage industry so that I can become better and I can avoid mistakes. And I have elevated 5 years in my craft in a matter of 3 months, just because of the impact that an advisor who has been there before me has done. And it is 10x my income. And I think that if you're, in a relationship, you should do the same thing. You should find someone who has been married for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, and seek their advice. Like, how do I make this work? Their advice might be, get the fuck out while you can.
Yeah.
And their advice might be, well, you got to do this and that, and you have to compromise, So you never know until you find someone who's been where you want to be. You find people to surround yourself with that love you. You talk to people who care about you, that don't just want something from you. And with that, I think you are on the right track to becoming the most successful version of yourself. If not, you're going to feel damn good about yourself.
Exactly. That is number one thinking. Thank you for stopping by. That is a wrap for this episode. Thank you, Andrew.
Yes, sir.
Great co-host. Yeah, that's it.
All right.